Hey, what's up producers? My name is BruceBeats, and in this video I am going to show you how to structure a song professionally so that your tracks aren't loopy, they're not too repetitive, you have just the right blend of repetition and variation so your track can develop over time, and it's not the same thing for 3.5 minutes. This is a recording of a session of a coaching call that I did with producers that I mentor, and they loved it so much that I figure it would be super valuable for you as well. And if you like this content, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can get some more value. So without any further ado, let's get right into it.
It basically is a loop the whole time. It doesn't change enough and it drags on. Part of the reason that it drags on is because there's not much happening. It's really cool, especially when the drums come in. I love it when the drums come in. But basically, like, it's the same drums, it's the same pattern, it's the same fills. And so while they're cool, the coolness only lasts for so long before we need something to change. And then when it comes to the piano too, it's the same progression the whole time. And you do change the progression at the end, but that comes in at 3 minutes where a song is typically ending at that point. And so that's way too late to start bringing in that type of variation. I want to give you a couple bullet points so that when you're writing, you could think about these things, because these are going to be the easiest ways to make an arrangement. So these are in no particular order, but these are the things that you want to do to make an arrangement and to have your song flow and progress and not just be a loop. Again, no particular order, so I'll just do these in bullet points. Every 4 to 8 bars equals change. So change can be new progression, right? New chords. Change can be elements / instruments, right? Bringing in and out, right? Adding or subtracting instruments. Something needs to change every 4 to 8 bars. This may sound repetitive, but I kind of view this as a different thing. New chord progression. Why am I saying that again? Because yes, every 4 to 8 bars you could put a different chord progression, but for the most part, the chord progression is your, like, vibe. It's your mood. And so when you change that, like, that's a big drastic change rather than just bringing in another, layer or something like that. A chord progression holds a lot of weight. So when you change the chord progression, you're changing something big in the track. So this is really, when you change the chord progression, what you're really doing here is you're making a new section. You're introducing a pre-chorus, you're introducing a verse, right? You're doing a chord progression. I want to tell you a little story of yesterday. When we were in the studio. So remind me, because I think it's very important. There's a lot of things that I was thinking about that happened yesterday that aren't happening in your track, and I think it'd be very helpful. Again, there's overlap here, but this is more of a question to ask yourself. What is this idea section-wise? What do I mean by that? Is this your verse, hook, bridge, etc.? Because once you know that, you know where to go from there. If you don't know what it is and you're just like, this is dope, then you're just going to loop it and loop it and loop it and loop it. And then you end up with what you have. But if you're like, this is my verse, you're like, okay, cool. I need to somehow now make a pre-hook that is going to lead me to my hook, that's going to lead me back to my verse. Now you have a roadmap. And then your chord progressions and the sections that you add can now fall into these buckets. See what I mean? It's so important to think that way. And I know you've heard me say that before, but I really encourage you to start thinking in this way when you're making it. Start to put these labels on things. You know what I mean? What idea is this, or what is this idea section-wise? And then last but not least, transitions. You have like a little bit of transitions, but mainly you have like no transitions in the whole thing. And so this is like, here's your verse, here's your hook, right? The money section. This is the money section. Is how you're getting from one to the other. That's what makes things exciting. These are basically like the 4 main points that you want to be thinking of as you're developing your track. Every 4 to 8 bars, something needs to change, and you can do that with those. A new chord progression is going to basically be a new section because it's going to feel completely different. This one is huge. This one's a big lever. What idea is this section-wise? Because that's going to allow you to create your roadmap. Instead of it just being a cool loop, going one step further and defining, okay, this feels like my verse, or this feels like my hook. And if it feels like your verse, you move forward from there. If it feels like your hook, you can move backward from there because you're like, okay, cool, this is my hook. How am I getting into it? As a matter of fact, that's what we did last night. Transitions, how am I getting from one section to the other? because you can just glue them together. Cool. But if you get into it in a cool way, it doesn't have to be the most crazy inventive thing in the world. It can be. But if you go from one section into the other in a really cool way, it makes it exciting to listen to. So yeah, these are really the biggest things that you're going to be thinking about. So how does this actually happen? Well, I'll tell you about last night how we did this. We made something that was really, really cool last night. I was over at the studio working with, for some of you who follow me on social, you may know that I did a video shoot the other day with some old friends I linked back up with, and we did this cool little video shoot. And the saxophone player, first time I ever met him, he works at a studio here in Miami, and we were talking. I sent him some stuff, and he has an artist that he wants to work with, and he sent me some of the ideas, and he was like, would you be down to work on this? And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And so we worked together for the first time yesterday over at the studio, and it was awesome. It was awesome. And I think one of the reasons that it was so cool is because we're on the same wavelength about this stuff. And so it was super natural. It was like super flowing when we were making the ideas, because we understood like there's a method to the madness. You know what I mean? Like how it happened was she had this song and she didn't know, like you're gonna see how this walks through. Actually, let me continue sharing the screen real quick. So she had a song. Actually, she had some melodies and some chords. She was missing this. She was missing her structure. And so when I was listening to the song, I was like, "What's the hook?" She's like, "I don't know. I just have a bunch of things, and I don't really know what's what." And so my mind just went here. I was like the very first thing, and we figured out what the hook was gonna be. And we're like, "Okay, dope." So this is our hook, and then PJ and I, we started building out the hook, like with the music and everything. And as we were building out the hook, she got her ideas. And then she formulated her lyrics into verse, hook, bridge. And then we're actually ending with the bridge. It's really cool. But so once we just defined whatever the section was going to be, the rest of the song worked itself out. Like that's literally how it happened last night. So it's not theory. Like this is just how it works when you start thinking about this. And so we finished the hook, and then we were like, okay, this is feeling really good. How are we going to get into this? We need a verse. And so then we created the verse. We were like, okay, the hook feels like this. I want the verse to feel like this, softer. And so we made the verse and brought it into the hook. And then we had this. And then I see PJ just sitting down there messing for 10 minutes. Messing with the same little section. And I knew he was doing something, so I didn't really want to, interrupt his flow. Dude, this guy spent 10 minutes on this. How to get from the verse to the hook. And it was this really simple reverse piano idea, but he was trying to find like the right effect for how he wanted to do it. And it ended up being super dope how we get from here to here. And he spent 10 minutes on that idea. People feel bad spending 10 minutes on what the hook is going to be or on the verse drop. If they take 10 minutes, they're like, I'm taking too long. And on one measure, the dude spent 10 minutes because he had an idea and it was insanely fire. And it made the hook feel even better because of how we got into it, how we set it up. It's much like how comedians set up their joke. They don't just say the punchline. They set it up. And then when they say the punchline, it's hilarious because of the setup, right? Basically, when we were like, okay, we're going to make the verse now. We need a new chord progression. Okay, we're going to make the hook now. What's going to be the chord progression? Okay, we're going to make the bridge. What's going to be the chord progression? We basically have a different chord progression for every section. And there is some overlap. It's not a completely different thing, but like each section kind of has its own vibe, even though it's similar because they're sharing the same chords, maybe just arranged in a different way or whatever. And also within this verse, every 4 to 8 bars, there's something new. Within the hook, every 4 to 8 bars, there's something new. So for example, the hook is 8 bars long. So we have like 4 and 4. And so you can almost think about it as 2 halves. On this half, there's a shaker that's not present in the first half. On this half, the progression is different. Those are the 2 biggest things I remember. So in the hook, the last 4, we have this variation, right? In the chord progression, in the first verse, it's actually a little bit different. It's like 4 and then 3 because it's an odd thing. But in the first 4 bars, it's just piano in the high register. And then we bring piano in the low register, but then we add bass and we add like some strings or something and then like something else. So like within just the verse, we have this variation, and the song evolves. The song feels like it's an arrangement. The song feels like it's going somewhere different. And it's only because we're just thinking of this, and there's an infinite amount of ways to do this. This, like, literally, this is what every song does. And every song doesn't sound the same. So many different ways you can put this together, with the elements you combine, with the progressions you combine, with all that stuff. I think it's cool because a lot of the times I work alone, and yesterday, working with someone in that capacity, I haven't done it in a really long time. And as I was explaining this, as I was writing it down, it just became really obvious to me, like, oh yeah, like he gets this too. That's why it came out so cool, and that's why everybody had such a good time, and that's why it was like cool, because like we were just thinking about this stuff naturally, and it worked. We just had to figure out how to put the puzzle together, but this is the blueprint for the puzzle. You can do it alone, you can do it with other people, but when you think about it like this is how you come up with a cool arrangement, and not just something that loops forever.